Hi, Holly. So here we go with the verbal feedback. You'll have to let me know what you think about it, how it works for you. So, you're working with memory mapping, 8th grade language arts. The diary genre is prior content knowledge, I think is probably legitimate for 8th graders. And you're going to work with their new content knowledge, breaking down of memories through mapping. Interesting. I'm not quite sure what that's about. That's not good or bad. I'll be curious to see. So I like the fact that you dug through the standards into the evidence outcomes. So we're going to be looking at a lesson plan that uses narrative techniques to develop experiences and that integrates the use of organizing techniques that break up sequential presentations. So I'm going to be watching for both of those to be addressed in the lesson plan. Your essential questions. What are the various factors or influences that shape one's identity? I think that is a great question to ask, especially at the 8th grade level. It's probably developmentally appropriate. I hope that you actually use that in your lesson plan. All right, on your students will be able to, I like this one right here, it's nice and specific, to outline the elements of their chosen memory, looking at the, completing a memory map handout, and then to describe events through the use of dialogue and sensory words. Very nice. Students will be able to statements and objective statements. At the end of the lesson, it'll be easy to know whether the student met the objective or not. The understanding various elements that go into creating a diary narrative and how to organize effective personal experiences. Looks great so far. All right, so your formative assessment, you're going to be collecting the memory map. That's great. You can see how well kids understood it. Obviously, final assessment, the writing portion of the unit. Very good. Okay, into the learning plan. I like the fact, pardon me, that you put times in here. I think that especially in a short class period like this, it's a good idea to keep a close eye on it. So introduce the lesson by going over objectives, reviewing previous class, which we read, diary and journals, reviewing through share aloud discussion what events people chose to write about in diary entries. All right, break this down for me a little bit more, all right, so that I have the opportunity to get inside of your head. I want to actually see what it is you'll be saying to the student, how you will be saying this to them. You say specifically, we will be reviewing through share aloud discussion what events people chose to write about. If no one chooses to share, are you going to have a piece prepared? I'm looking for some little itty-bitty details like that a practicing teacher, you wouldn't put those in your lesson plans, but as far as lesson planning for methods go, it helps me to understand what kind of a teacher you're striving to be a little bit more. Also, while this provides context to introduce the daily objective, it does not, however, hook your students. Sorry about that. Hook your students into the lesson. Think about Doug Lemov's double planning concept. Pretend that you're in 8th grade. It's 7:30 in the morning on a Monday. You walk in, the bell rings, you sit down, and your teacher says to you, today, here's our daily objective, blah, blah, blah. And this kid's gone already, right? You actually want to engage them in the learning activity. So think about adding a piece like that up here, okay? So introduce the students to the idea that we will begin towards them writing their own journal or diary entry over the next few days. Again, script this out. Don't say that you will introduce the students. Actually, introduce the students. Give me the words that you're going to say. Anticipate their responses. Think about an 8th grade girl who says, oh, good, I don't need to listen or do anything because I keep a diary every day and, I'm sure it's full of mushy, barfy stuff, right? You go over the upcoming due dates. I'm going to scroll down real quick and see if you included that handout. Oh, okay, here's the memory map handout. Oh, and you have it filled out too. Cool. Can't wait to read about that. Okay. So, so if this was an actual lesson, you would, have the due dates all written down. Then you say, I will explain that these memory maps are going to be an organizational tool. Instead of saying, I will explain, actually do it. Write me, quote. So students, these memory maps are going to be an organizational tool, blah, blah, blah. The more often you imagine yourself in front of the room and imagine yourself in front of the students, the more effective you'll be when you actually stand up and do it. All right, so brainstorming what the best memory is, 5 minutes to draw, write, brainstorm. So I'm glad you're walking them through some pre-writing. Share with their desk partner their memory out loud. Oh, I like your differentiation over here. The fact that you've noted that this is a differentiation. Watch out for kids who don't want to share out loud. Have some thoughts in mind. What would you do for them, with them? Students will complete their memory map 35 minutes or 5 minutes per box. I like that kind of a timing on there. I'll let students know before they start filling out the memory map. I'm collecting them at the end. Perfect, right? So then you have using a mix between modeling and individual practice. I'll guide the students through completing the memory map. So let's see. Before I comment, let me keep going. I'll have my own blank memory map displayed on the dot cam, and we'll have my own best memory. Oh, that's the model you have below. Great, wonderful. So I can see exactly what you're saying. What you want to include in this section here then is not just the handout of your completed memory map, but the think aloud pieces that you will have there, so that I can see that you are structuring those thinking processes well for your students. Okay? So after a quick model, the students fill in their own box. I like that. Excellent. Oh, excellent, including, now here you say, at least 2 of the 7 boxes must have at least 1 line of dialogue that the students remember, so that they can later build dialogue into their final writing. Again, just a tiny little thing to watch out for. Can they make that up? Is that, what if their memory is just a flash? It's not, no words attached to it. Is it okay if they make that up? Do you care if they punctuate that dialogue correctly? If so, are you going to need to scaffold that learning in there for them? Or maybe that's going to come at a later date in a revision piece. All right? I like the fact that you think about actually closing up the lesson. So as they're leaving, collect their memory maps, and that you're going to use that as a formative assessment. Overall, Holly, really nice job on this. Give me some more scripting so that I can see what kind of a teacher you want to be, what kind of words you'll be using. Think about that engagement piece as you're moving through these too. But really, for the most part, this looks fantastic.